There is no doubt that Victoria's recycling system needs improving, and we really want to give our state the best foot forward for a sustainable future. And I think it's pretty fair to say that Labor has failed this so far. The bill generally sets up the Recycling Victoria, and that includes a framework for the container deposit scheme, which people have been waiting for some time, and also the waste and recycling services, which is the fourth rubbish bin. It also outlines all of the objectives and roles of the head of Recycling Victoria.
I think it's just important to talk about it as the Circular Economy Act. It really is a significant economic argument that we need to understand and to make in relation to product stewardship, recycling and waste recovery.
I fear actually in this situation, the current government, it's been far too slow to actually act on the issues that we've found, particularly that Australia found some 2 or 3 years ago when China started to clamp down and refuse to take our recycling.
There's been a lot of discussion about the 4-bin system, which is another important one that I think our community, there's a bit of whinging that I've heard around, but generally speaking, people across my electorate are really keen to see those bins.
I support the concept of what the government is doing, but it's concerning that this piece of legislation doesn't actually recycle one can, doesn't recycle one bottle, and doesn't recycle one plastic container of soft drink. What it does do is set up a bureaucracy.
This bill lays the foundation for the state's transition to the circular economy, a transition which will support the creation of more than 3,900 jobs and deliver on our climate change targets and ensure Victorians have a recycling system that they can actually rely on.
I absolutely can't wait to see Victoria have a container deposit scheme so that little 10-cent refund label on bottles and cans finally will apply here in Victoria. It's also great to see this bill laying the groundwork for food waste collection across the state, because we know that nearly half of what goes in our landfill wheelie bins is actually food scraps, and they don't need to be there.
As we transition to our net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, and our pledge under the climate change strategy to reduce emissions from organic material going to landfill and support more effective sorting of recyclables, our rural and regional communities have a huge role to play in that.
As it does with everything that Labor does, it seeks to blame business, it seeks to blame the powers that be, and it seeks to try and legislate the improvements rather than sitting down with community and sitting down with individuals and saying, what is your role? What is your responsibility to make this better?
As someone in Melbourne's western suburbs, we're very familiar with the impacts of landfill in our communities, and so I know that the reduction, that commitment to reduce landfill waste by 80% is something that everyone in my community is very happy about.
We're 10 years away from having a proper recycling scheme fully operational. 10 years away. The fact is, Acting Speaker, this bill is simply a hoax. It's an illusion of action when no action is happening. It's a triumph for politics over substance. It's a complete fraud, and it should be recognised for what it is.
Industry has started doing things and are doing an incredible job, but they want the leadership from their governments to know that the governments are serious, will put serious money behind them, invest in them and support them. And this is exactly what this legislation does.
2019 or early 2020 when the Liberal Nationals called for a container deposit scheme, and now we have this piece of legislation late in 2021 and the government still isn't introducing the container deposit scheme until 2023.
We're not hiding away from the fact that it is a plan, a long-term plan, not just a plan in an electoral cycle, but a 10-year significant plan.
This bill lays the foundation for the state's transition to a circular economy, a transition that supports the creation of almost 4,000 jobs. It will deliver on our climate change targets, and it will ensure that Victorians have a reliable recycling system. So that's the big picture.
If anyone needs to think about why we need to do things better, why recycling is so important and the impact the 4-bin process that we're going to roll out will have on communities, all you need to go down to and do is a tour of your local tip. What got me in Werribee was just over yonder was a brand new estate being built. And they had these huge chain fences, massive. And I remember I said to the guy taking me around in the ute, what is all this for? And he said, it's to keep the plastic here inside the tip. Because what struck me is that the plastic was unbelievable. The amount of the plastic was unbelievable.